Okay, welcome to another video. It's the 10th of October, and I've decided to make a video about the election of 1912. This is probably my third favorite election behind 24 and 76. But, so my most favorite, most recent, I will say that. So anyway, let's get right into it. So before the actual election, we have to go into the background. In 1901, Teddy Roosevelt took over as William McKinley died. So Teddy Roosevelt was president. He was very successful, pretty much an 8-year tenure. Then people wanted him to run again, but he didn't, and he endorsed his friend Taft, who is his Secretary of War, I believe, Secretary of Defense. So then Taft, as a more conservative Republican than a liberal, like Roosevelt, and Taft actually, and Taft was okay. But then 1912 came along, and Roosevelt had come home from like a trip out west or whatever, and he decided to, Roosevelt decided to run in 1912. You know who else decided to run? Taft. So Roosevelt and Taft would be running against each other for the Republican nomination. And Roosevelt was much ahead in like everything going into the convention. But then at the actual Republican convention where they choose who to nominate, the people chose Taft. Now this made Roosevelt very angry. So he and many of his supporters walked out of the convention and made their own party called the Progressive Party. And this party effectively, this was just a way for Roosevelt to run again. So the election comes around, and the Democrats nominate Woodrow Wilson, who, I don't really know what he did, and I don't really care. So the Democrats, and Woodrow Wilson was like a racist or whatever, and he wouldn't have won in a normal year if the Republicans had chosen either Roosevelt or Taft. And yes, as I was saying, Wilson did win. He got most of the votes. This was mainly because the Republican vote was so split. Taft suffered the worst defeat ever for a Republican, with getting only 8 votes. And Roosevelt did okay. He lost his home state of New York, but whatever. Yeah, that's really it. Wilson would go on to serve another 4 years. World War II would break out, and then he'd have to win another really close election in 1916, where he only really won because he claimed he kept everyone out of war. And then, a few months after that, he brought everyone into World War I, and then he got a stroke later in his term. So Roosevelt turned out to be a bad president, and this is probably one of the worst decisions ever by the Republicans to choose Taft. Because if they chose Roosevelt, he likely would have won, and then Wilson would have never been president. So, yeah, just felt like saying that. Okay, subscribe and Twitch Discord in the description.